Alright, y'all. So as always, there are some players who perform very well in the preseason and maybe giving us some insight into the type of season they are about to have. And a lot of these guys are young, they're primed for these breakout or growth type seasons, and they showed off this potential and these abilities in the shortened preseason. But either way, although they are short sample sizes, I do believe that these are 6 guys who could be ready to have a big leap in terms of potential and ability throughout this upcoming year. While most of these guys only played 3 or 4 games during this preseason, they did show that they could perform at a much higher level than they did in the year prior, just through a simple comparison of stats and just by how they're being used by their respective teams. So with that being said, I'm going to be jumping into 6 guys who I think could be primed for a somewhat of a breakout season this year. Starting off in Atlanta, we have DeAndre Hunter. He is entering the 2nd year of his career, and he is primed to be in somewhat of a rotational, I don't want to say issue, but he is going to have to work for his minutes, seeing as he is one of the younger guys on this roster that has had a sudden influx in talent with the signings of Bogdanovic, Gallinari, the additions of Clint Capella, fellow rookies, well not fellow rookies, but rookies in the terms of Onyeka Okongwu, and then there's also Kevin Huerter, fellow sophomore Trae Young, and just a bunch of other guys like Cam Reddish also entering his 2nd year. Either way, there's a whole lot of people who are going to be commanding minutes in Atlanta, and DeAndre Hunter is already off to a great start and showing that he still belongs to be in the center of the rotation. Throughout Atlanta's 4 preseason games, he actually ended up leading the team in points per game with 15, and he did that in 28 minutes. Compare that to last season where he averaged 12 points per game across 32 minutes, and just an overall ability to shoot now that wasn't necessarily a reliable factor in his rookie year. Now, again, all this is a short sample size, which will be a common theme in this video, but if DeAndre Hunter can truly solidify himself as one of the wing stars on this team, it'll definitely be great for not only his growth and development, but it'll be great for the production in terms of just the team for Atlanta as well. He came into the league already being a great defender, which is going to be big on a team that starts Trae Young and Bogdanovic. So to have someone like DeAndre Hunter who can start at the 3 or the 4 and be able to provide some much needed defense while also being a somewhat reliable scorer if he can maintain his scoring from the preseason, I see no reason why DeAndre Hunter will ever lose his starting job. I know it's already been said and confirmed that Danilo Gallinari agreed to come off the bench during his time in Atlanta when he signed his contract. So I think all of it is paving the way for DeAndre Hunter to keep his starting job, maintain it, and end up being one of the more glue guys on the team, but still playing a huge role in terms of Atlanta's success down the line and in the future. Next up, we have Coby White from the Chicago Bulls. Now, Coby White, he ended last season at a very high rate. He was averaging close to 30 points a game for a solid stretch of time, and although it was on a Chicago Bulls team that wasn't necessarily winning a lot of games, and he was able to roam a bit freer than what he would in a normal situation, Coby White definitely showed that he has an ability to score at the highest level. He showed off that at UNC, and he eventually made it work in the NBA, although it took him a little bit to get to that point. Either way, he's looking like he's going to be a certified bucket in the league. During the preseason, he averaged 16.5 points per game to go along with 4 assists per game and a total of 28 minutes per game. Compare that to last season where he averaged 13 a game, over 25 minutes a game. And most notably, he did have the big 27-point performance in this preseason where I think he had like 15 and a quarter, something like that. And a lot of fans are catching notice, just like they were at the end of the last season prior to the suspension. Either way, Coby White seems like he's finally hitting just a wider range of fans, and more people are getting to know about Coby White. And while last season he came off the bench for every game but one, the last game that he played in, it is looking like this year under new head coach Billy Donovan, it looks like Coby White is going to take over Tomas Satoransky's starting role, and he will be starting at point guard alongside Zach LaVine. And I think this is a duo that can actually work pretty well together. They're not necessarily the best defensively, although Zach LaVine is, I would say, an above average on-ball defender. Coby White still has ways to go on defense, but in terms of offense and scoring, these guys could easily be one of the highest scoring backcourts in the NBA, obviously as long as they continue to develop at the current pace. Zach LaVine has already established himself as someone who could score well into the 20s a night for an entire season, whereas Coby White, obviously he's going into his 2nd year. It's going to take him a little bit to fully solidify himself as a great scorer in this league, but he seems to be on the right track. And I mean, I think this is a backcourt where if Zach LaVine can find a way or chooses to stay in Chicago for years to come down the line, I think this could easily end up being one of the better backcourts that we have in the NBA, which will also be nice because it'll be homegrown and not a huge market, although Chicago, they're known for their basketball due to one man Michael Jordan, but they're not necessarily a big market team. It'd be nice for them to have a homegrown backcourt in Kobe White and Zach LaVine. Next, we're heading to LA, where taylon Horton-Tucker bursted onto the scene with his big games against the Los Angeles Clippers, while the Lakers were resting most of their starters or star players. And over those 3 games that they played, taylon Horton-Tucker averaged 20.5 points to go along with 6 rebounds and 2 steals per game. And comparing that to last season, he only averaged 5 points and a steal across 6 games. Didn't play that much, wasn't even a part of the rotation for a majority of the year. Saw very little time as the Lakers were the eventual champions and didn't necessarily have the minutes to just go around and share them with a very young rookie in Horton-Tucker. Even though he did just turn 20 a few weeks ago, he came into this preseason ready to go and dominated a Clippers team that played their starters and star players for the most part and are very good defensively, so it's no slight that taylon Horton-Tucker was able to dominate such a great defensive team. Definitely good for him, and most notably, he had a game where he dropped 33 points to go along with 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, and this game caught the attention of NBA fans all around the country, and he seems to be just another piece in the amazing cog, another cog in the amazing machine that is the LA Lakers in terms of producing talent at this state. And the crazy thing is he might not even be seeing rotational minutes this year. Even though he had an absolutely brilliant preseason, he still is behind a lot of guys in the Lakers rotation, mainly a guy who's going to be up next on this list in Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma also had a pretty good preseason himself and might have just saved himself from being stuck into a non-rotational spot behind taylon Horton-Tucker, because Kuzma seems like he's finally getting back on his development track that he seemed to be thrown off of last season. He played 34 minutes a night during the preseason, where he averaged 17.5 points to also go along with 6 3-pointers attempted per game, which is big for Kuzma because that's where his strengths are really at on this Lakers team, is being the guy who can spot up and shoot threes at a high rate. And compare that to last season where he averaged 12 points per game in 25 minutes, and he's only taking 4 threes a night. So seeing an increase from 4 to 6 is going to be huge for the Lakers because obviously their team is the best in the league right now, but they'll only get even better as more of their rotation guys are able to shoot threes at a higher rate and just be able to make them at a high rate as well, and Kuzma seems to be on that track. Not only would it solidify a role player spot on this Lakers team, but it would just also take a huge load off of LeBron and AD when it comes to scoring, whereas they don't have to go out and score a combined 60 points a night. They can rely on guys like Kyle Kuzma to chip in with 20 or even 25 every now and then. And again, as long as Kuzma can continue to maintain his hot shooting and knock down shots at a higher rate, he'll be a great addition in this second chance at bringing back another title to LA back to back. Next up in Phoenix, I want to talk about Langston Galloway. He's someone who's bounced around quite a bit in his NBA career, but it seems like he's finally finding a home in Phoenix, and it's at the right time as the Suns are emerging as a potential contending team during this season. Last season in Detroit, he played 25 minutes a night where he scored 10 points a game, but in this short preseason, he averaged 13 points a game off the bench while playing 20 minutes per game, and even though he wasn't playing as many minutes, he was producing a lot better and shooting at a higher rate. And this might simply just be a factor of Galloway just simply playing with better talent around him in Phoenix compared to Detroit. But Galloway has always been a knockdown lethal shooter. It's just been a matter of the fact that he hasn't had the playmakers to get him the ball in the right spots. So far, he's already looking like one of the better options for scoring off of Phoenix's bench when they need just, points on the board, as they have a great starting lineup now with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Bridges, Ayton, Cam Johnson, or Jay Crowder, whoever gets that starting spot. But in terms of guard play off the bench, they had quite a big hole, even though they have, like I said, great players in Paul and Booker. And it's looking like Langston Galloway is going to step in and take over that spot as being the spark plug off the bench when they need, if Booker or Chris Paul are having an off night or is in some foul trouble, Galloway is going to be able to come in and be that off guard, just shooter who can provide some scoring and a spark plug off the bench. And lastly, that brings me to Portland, where we're seeing a player finally breaking out. It's been so long and so injury riddled so far in his career, and that's Harry Giles. Across 4 preseason games, he averaged 11 points and 9 rebounds in 21 minutes. And compare that to last season in Sacramento, where he averaged 7 points per game and 4 rebounds in 15 minutes. And it just seems like Harry Giles is finally finding his spot in the NBA. Obviously, he was at the top of his class in terms of just, rankings for, it seemed like every single year of his career leading up to the NBA, where eventually he got to college and he had a lot of injury issues that took him down the draft boards, and he still had those injury issues once he got into the NBA. But luckily, he's just been taking his time rehabbing in Sacramento, getting some spot minutes here and there. But now he's healthy again, he's looking like his old self, and he might finally be able to produce for an NBA team. And he seems like he's found a home in Portland, at least until he gets a bigger contract, which, again, as long as he stays healthy, I see as only inevitable. He's only 22, so he still has plenty of career ahead of him, and it seems like in Portland, again, he's just finally found a role that fits him. He's going to be able to come off the bench and behind Jusuf Nurkic and play with great players in Lillard and McCollum and Melo and all these great guys who can just help him grow his game and develop. And even if he does have some off nights, Portland still has Enes Kanter available to eat some minutes at center as well. So it'll be a great learning spot for Harry Giles, but he's also going to be playing for a winning team. And again, it's all going to be great for his development, and I really hope to see him produce and get better and ultimately get some bigger contracts on the line, because I think Harry Giles could still be a very legit player, and this might be the first season that we start to see him break out. And that is it. These 6 players had great preseasons. Things are looking up for them as we head into the regular season, and they're all primed to take a big leap this year. One of them might even be able to grab a most improved player. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But again, that'll do it for this video. So as always, leave your comments down below on what you think about these 6 guys, or drop some players who you think had some great preseasons who could translate that into the regular season. Other than that, leave a like if you enjoyed this video or enjoy this type of content. And as always, most importantly, thank you for watching.